Hello, everyone, and welcome to this audio podcast. This audio podcast is part of a series in around the Labostix article. This audio podcast series, we're going to look at peer-reviewed and published works in around from 2015, collaborative works between colleagues in a youth and amongst a youth club in the United Kingdom, a a children's hospital in around the Department of Pediatric Nephrology in the United Kingdom. Looking at also collaborators from from a social media platform, and in amongst two sort of academic institutions, both in the United Kingdom, and where this works was peer reviewed and published, sort of original research from 2015. So in and around this audio podcast and this synopses, this audio podcast synopses is part of as part of a Labostix article, an audio podcast synopses as part of a Helm and Raid, an audio podcast as part of a Mayhem and Trooper, and this audio podcast as part of a Storm Labostix production. In this audio podcast, looking at works in around coping in young people suffering with chronic kidney disease, CKD. In around this works as part of this sort of collaborative works and this synopses. So CKD, or chronic kidney disease, is an irreversible disease with physiological and sort of and around sort of psychological and psychosocial challenges, especially for those young people in amongst those who suffer with chronic kidney disease. In around the sort of objectives of this works, the objective of this sort of phenomenological study or investigation was to identify coping strategies in two cohorts of young people aged between 12 years of age and up to 18 years of age. In cohort one, the young people were healthy cohort, and in the second cohort, the young people had chronic kidney disease CKD stages in around between CKD stages 4 and 5, thus the sort of severe side of chronic kidney disease, or CKD. In around the sort of the design aspects, the design around this works. Young people with CKD stages 4 to 5, CKD stages 4 to 5 were recruited or participated, and there were seven young people in amongst the CKD chronic kidney disease cohort, and where the mean age was in around 11.5 years of age. And young healthy people were in the young healthy, and amongst the young healthy cohort, there were seven young participants who participated, where the mean age was in around 14 years of age, and where young people were recruited and participated from a children's hospital, children's hospital in the United Kingdom, and one youth club, in also in the United Kingdom accordingly. and were invited to take part in a one-to-one face-to-face semi-structured interview. In around sort of the findings around this works, the data analysis had identified or informed 11 different around 11 different coping themes, 11 different coping themes, and in around sort of the conclusions, some of the conclusions, it can be concluded, or it was concluded from the interviews, from the interviews, that young healthy people and those with CKD or chronic kidney disease alike utilize a range of coping strategies. The themes derived can prompt sort of researchers and investigators to potentially develop a sort of coping measure for young people, with CKD, for young people in CKD, in amongst the CKD or chronic kidney disease population. However, a longitudinal investigation would help to recognize coping strategies young people adapt over time, and provide a pathway for the development of a formal coping framework. Some terminologies that can be utilized to identify similar or regarding works include chronic kidney disease, coping, paediatrics, phenomenology, and young people. That draws this audio podcast to a close. This audio podcast series will have some literature, sort of citations that are linked to regarding works, and will be on amongst Storm Labostix production social media, so listeners can identify and look to identify sort of similar works. So that draws this audio podcast synopsis to a close. This audio podcast is part of a Labostix article. This audio podcast as part of a Helm raid. This audio podcast as part of a Mayhem Trooper, and this audio podcast as part of a Storm Labostix production.